Now that you know your CMO is your first customer, and now that you've seen that some of the most creative and engaging headlines online today or ever started as mere idioms, it is time to build on that. After all, sometimes there just aren't any great idioms that'll work for the headline on the page you are trying to write. So what do you do then? Open your worksheet for today, which looks like this. What we're going to do is identify a phrase your audience believes to be true, and then swap one of the words out to make your message that thing they now believe to be true. So for example, when I was working on copy for GitPrime, which is now Flow by Pluralsight, we were trying to persuade both software engineers and business leaders to choose GitPrime to measure what engineers do. We knew that business leaders thought engineers built products, and we knew engineers wanted their true value to be clearer to business leaders. They wanted the C-suite to know that those products they build are at the heart of their business. So I made their homepage headline this: Engineers build business. Contrary to popular thought, engineers don't just build products, they build business. The CMO loved it, so did the rest of their team, and so did engineers, as it turned out, and so did business leaders. And when Pluralsight acquired GitPrime, the Pluralsight team loved it so much, they used it too. So the question here, the one that you need to answer to develop a new set of taglines as headlines is this: what does our target market believe to be true, and how do they phrase that? Followed by, what do we want them to believe is true? For Coca-Cola, that means turning open a can of soda into open happiness. For De Beers, that means turning love is forever into a diamond is forever. For Dunkin' Donuts, that means turning America runs on coffee into America runs on Dunkin'. We're going to borrow a known phrase with positive connotations and then take over that phrase. It's basically a question of what you are or what you want to be synonymous with. Start by identifying the category your product, feature, or service is in. Now, if you've never thought about your category, you can typically identify it by just completing the phrase, our product is a blank. Okay, our product is a training program, our product is a course, our product is an educational tool. For Dunkin' Donuts, one category is coffee, but others they might have brainstormed are fast food, donuts, restaurant. So now, in the worksheet, write down at least 2 categories. The example I'm going to use this time around is for a service called Maple that helps you find your perfect marketer. And the 3 words, you can do 2 words, whatever works for you. The 3 words I have in this case are advertising, sales, and growth. Now, for each category, we're going to brainstorm positive axioms, mottos, sayings, adages, quotes, any of the things that are universally accepted as true for that category. Now, the most obvious thing to do, the place most copywriters would actually start, is just to Google sayings about your category, like sayings about coffee or sayings about donuts. This search will reveal really common sayings, and the more common, the better. Google image search, Pinterest, places like that are totally your friend here when you are looking for sayings and quotes. So we have sayings about advertising that has served up a lot of them. Obviously, the more frequently you see a saying, the more likely it is that the world, or particularly the people you're trying to connect with, actually know that saying or a version of it. So just you actually type in sayings about and then whatever your word is after that. So I'm going to take what I'm seeing here and start filling in that worksheet. Okay, and that is complete now. We've got 6 different axioms or adages or whatever that might be for each of the 2 words we're going to focus on. If you do a 3rd word, that's cool. You'll want at least 6 for that word as well. Okay, now you've got phrases about your category. Sub your brand name, your feature name, or even your own spin in. You may already have found yourself doing this part of the exercise as you brainstorm these various sayings. Now you're just gonna write it all down. All we're gonna do here is find that category word that we have over here in the actual line that we're using here, and then just sub in the brand name. So in this case, that's it. Okay, so when I sub it in here, you can see that it just doesn't work in this case. So we have above that, creative without strategy is called art, creative with strategy is called maple, that works. If it doesn't sell, it isn't maple, that works. The more informative your maple, the more persuasive it will be, that does not work. It's okay if it doesn't work. It's not like this is going to work every single time, but sometimes it will serve up some interesting stuff that turns into great headlines. Okay, now when we move on to the next part, we have good products sell themselves. And the word sales isn't actually in there, just the word sell. And so it's not a really good fit in the first place for subbing in our actual name into that word to like own that category. But we can still work with this, right? We can still do something with that potentially. So give it a shot. If it feels too out there for you to try, don't worry about it. Just skip it and move on. But give it a shot. Let me show you what I would do. Now, that's actually a headline we've used for copy school, so it comes up pretty naturally for me, but it is still making Maple, the brand in this case, look really good and make it kind of take ownership of the whole idea of selling. Now, really quickly on this one, in my instruction, I said to find positive messages. So the message should be positive with regards to that original word that we're looking to like find words for. In this case, it's actually making sales sound bad, and this whole idea of just kind of picking a fight with the idea of sales. So when we capture it, even though we shouldn't have, when we do, and then we have make a customer not a maple, we can see like this is a problem. And that's why you want to look for just positive sayings and quotes and things like that, rather than anything that runs counter to the idea, because this won't work if we do it that way. Now this idea, what you plant now, you harvest later, that was a quote that came up a lot when I was learning about like just Googling sales. And the thing is, it doesn't include the word sales, but it is this idea that might be prevalent in the prospect's mind, the Maple's prospect's mind, that what you plant now, you harvest later. And Maple could kind of run counter to that in this case and say something a little bit more interesting. Okay, so the ones that might be worth trying here, even though this try it column will really be to express to yourself that you should share this with the CMO, I'm going to use it right now just as like a should I try this out in context, because some of these are definitely duds and other ones might actually be worth trying out. And just like in the last lesson, we're going to try out a few of our creative headlines on the page. If we like the way they feel in context, we'll check the box in the worksheet that says, yes, this headline is ready for validation, which means it's worth using in the copy you show your CMO. Getting creative in this way works for even more than crafting headlines CMOs love. When I was working my first agency job, I was tasked with naming a golf tournament for a client, which was a Christian seniors home. I looked up sayings about golf, which I knew very little about, and I found a quote that golf is a good walk spoiled. So I combined that with the Christian idea of walking the good walk and arrived at the Good Walk Golf Tournament, which the client fell in love with. So although you rarely want to be clever in conversion copywriting, given that things that are clever are often confusing to like 90% of the population, even still, Try to be a little clever in those headlines so you get that client love. Then just be sure to have a clarifying payoff line nearby.